Hello my friends, this is Sylvie Curry, Lady of Q, and once again I am in my kitchen. Today I'm going to be making some Korean hot dogs on a stick. And what makes them Korean hot dogs on a stick and not just plain old hot dogs on a stick is the technique and how you dress the hot dogs. This is going to be a little bit of a different recipe than I've tried in the past. In the past, I tried a thing where you make the more fluid type batter and you dip the hot dog in a glass and pull it out and then fry it. This one is going to have a more sticky, thick type batter that we're going to wrap around the hot dog and then fry it after it's been coated with Panko breadcrumbs. Let's get going on this. I'm going to show you my ingredients. The ingredients I'm going to give you in grams. In addition, I'm going to give it to you in teaspoons. I've got flour, and this is plain old all-purpose flour. That's 2 cups or 300 grams. I've got plain old water at room temperature, and this is 350 milliliters or the same as 1.5 cups of water. I've got salt, and my salt is 2 grams, or the same as 1 teaspoon of salt. I've got sugar, and the sugar is approximately 40 grams, which comes out to about 8 teaspoonsful of sugar. Plain old dry yeast, that's 5 grams, about similar to about 1.5 teaspoons of yeast. I'm going to be combining these ingredients in my food processor, mainly just to test it out and see if it'll work this way. I'm going to start by adding my water, and then I'm going to add my dry yeast and the sugar. And we let that set a little while just to see that this yeast does bloom. And it's not because it's necessary to bloom to make this recipe, it's just to make sure that I do have active dry yeast. My yeast is active, so I'm going to pulse it just to combine. We'll take off the top. Now I'm going to combine some of my other ingredients. I'm going to add the flour to the bowl. In addition to the salt. And then we'll start the mixing process. I'll pulse it in the beginning, just to get everything combined. And you can see we have a very loose batter, and we'll give that a couple more pulses. Now I think we've got a good mix on that, and like I said, it's a very, very loose, sticky dough, but we're going to let this sit in a room temperature area for a couple of hours, and it's going to get nice and fluffy and sticky, and we can go on with making our Korean hot dogs on a stick. I'm going to pour my batter into the stainless steel bowl. Now that I've got my batter in the bowl, I'm going to cover it, and we'll put it in a room temperature area where there's no breezes and the temperature's kind of steady, and we'll come back and check it after about 1.5 to 2 hours. After 2 hours, my batter is more than doubled in size. And you can see it's a very thick batter. I have some jumbo beef franks. They are huge. And I'm going to cut them in half because they are so large. So a half of this is probably equivalent to a regular size hot dog. I've got some chopsticks, which I'm going to use as the skewers, and I'm going to carefully go into the middle of that frank and try to get to the end without bursting through. And I'll treat each of the hot dogs this way. I'm not going to do any cheese in this batch, primarily because, simple reason, because I forgot to buy the cheese. So we've just got the hot dogs. And a lot of the Korean hot dogs, where they fry them up using this technique, they will use mozzarella cheese, and they'll do a chunk about equivalent size of the hot dogs. I also have some Panko breadcrumbs, and as I batter these hot dogs, I'm going to also dip it into the Panko breadcrumbs just prior to frying them up. In order to better assure that the batter is going to stick to the hot dogs, I'm going to coat each one with a little powdering of flour. Now we're going to coat our hot dogs with the batter, and it's just a matter of dipping it into the batter and going around to get all sides of this hot dog coated. Once it's coated, then we take it and put it in our Panko breadcrumbs. Get it covered on all sides. Form it into a nice shape. And we'll put that to the side. We'll move on to our next one, and we'll try to assure that we get it covered all over. And once again, put it into our Panko breadcrumbs. Try not to make a mess like I am. Try to ensure that all sides are coated. I'm thinking that the next time I do this, I'm going to try to make this batter a little bit thicker. I think the hydration is too much on it, so it's making it a little bit more runny than I'd like to have it. Our next step is to move on to frying these babies up. We'll go over to the stove and do that. I've got my oil hot. Put in the first one, and I'll put in the remainder of them. We'll know when they're done, when they're a nice golden brown, and we're nearly there. Take them off and put them here on the draining tray.